on the, of course, the analogy of that banyan tree. Banyan tree, Master use it, sentient beings is true. So true that we have actually lost our original, like the banyan tree, right? Because of the roots are hanging down, and that they can actually grow again. The root can become trunk. I didn't know that the Rong Su is such a Master's own experience in the jungle where he actually felt lost at the Tulan Blaze Mountain. And seeing this tree, you cannot differentiate which is actually the original tree. It's an analogy of sentient beings, the diluted sentient beings. In our course of life after life, we are actually losing our original so-called intrinsic nature. So with Dharma is the way to guide us back, to find our true Tathagata nature. This understand the true principle, turning the people from delusion into realization. So again, the key points is Master always mention, when we can take the Dharma into practice, Dharma into heart, then the Dharma will be in our action. So 这个发心起行 form aspiration is the precursor, is a must before one can actually take into action. So the emphasis Master mentioned about the San Wu Lo again is upholding the precepts, samadhi, and wisdom, and also cultivate this Wen Si Xiu. We have to listen, contemplate, and practice. And here, the emphasis on the leakage. Hopefully, with this, all these good as a spiritual cultivation tools, it will prevent us, from all the leaks. It is because of the leaks that Master highlighted today that all sentient beings are falling back into the 6 realms. So why this taking action is so important? Master also give the analogy of one. In order for us to see a broader view, we have to actually climb to a higher place. I think it is also referring to us in the course of this journey, in order to let our mind to be clearer. So in order to climb to a higher place, Master said, whether from the first level to the 30th level or so on or higher, to have this broader view, we have to actually start ourselves. We have to do it on our own. So the emphasis on us putting action into practice. And so that in this course of spiritual cultivation is for us to reach the level of this Buddha's knowledge and view for the Tzu Chi. And the emphasis again, Buddha, Master mentioned Buddha, the mind and sentient beings are of no different in the nature. This is our true intrinsic nature. That is the purest form. And what is the most so-called beautiful thing Master mentioned is the simplest, the most simple principles are the most beautiful thing and most wondrous. That is simplicity. I think it also referred to our pure nature. So remember the one great cause of Buddha coming to us, driven by the great compassion and vows with the intention to help sentient beings to find our original true nature. Okay, this is my sharing today, Ka En.
Okay, Ka En, Sister Wai Wai, for your beautiful sharing. Ka En, now we shall pass this platform back to Sister Lily. Sorry for the late.
Yeah, okay.
Sister Lily, back to you, Ka En.
Okay, Ka En, Sister Effie, and all sisters and brothers. Yeah, okay, good. Sister Tiffany, would you like to test your sound and the PowerPoint?
Sister, cannot hear the voice. Huh? Sister Tiffany, we could not yet hear Sister's voice.
Morning, Sis Tiffany. Hello.
可以听到，感恩。
OK， 好，等一下，我插一下耳机看看可不可以哦。等我一下。
这样子可以吗？可以。OK， 好。
清楚。
你要 share 你的 PowerPoint 吗？要 test
要，等我一下哦。
OK， 这样子可以吗？OK， 可以了。好。
感恩。
OK。
感恩 Sister。
我很
期待。感恩哦，Sister Tiffany，last minute 改时间，感恩 Sister。
没关系。
Hi, Sister Tiffany. Good to see you here.
Sister Tiffany, we will sing prayer song first. Then only after that we'll hand over to you, Sister Tiffany.
Yeah, that would be great.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Warm welcome to our masters, Father Huang, Hualien Dharma team, and brothers and sisters around the globe to Saturday Hualien Dharma talk. A very good morning. Let us start the session for today. Recently, disasters have happened so rampantly one after another due to the great imbalance of four elements. Now, with COVID-19 virus pandemic around the world, Master have great concern and earnestly urge everyone to repent and adopt vegetarian meal. Going vegetarian is a way to express our sincere piety, to pray for peace and a world free of disasters. It is the purest way of love for all living beings. Let us send our sincere prayers into the 10 directions. May the Sangha land be free from disaster and peace prevails in the world. Let us sing the prayer song with sincere piousness.
In my heart, I feel deep gratefulness. All my heart is filled with sincere prayer. From all corners of
all minds be purified, may there be peace in the community, may there be no disasters in this world. Before we turn to the wonderful sharing, let us invite our masters to lead us in paying homage to the teacher gems. Let us pay our respects for these teachings and explanations to the Buddha and Master Cheng Yin by making 3 sincere bows. Please rise, thumbs together. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. And a bow to our beloved Abode Masters who could join us today. Today we have Sister Su Ching who will be giving us the weekly summary, followed by Sister Tiffany, who will be sharing with us on the COP26 to our daily life, and followed by Brother Joe on Dharma Talk. Now let us hand over to Sister Su Ching. Sister Su Ching, over to you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I got this up. Okay, last week we had Brother Joe with us first, and then followed by Brother Dr. Kenneth. So Brother Joe told us about Master's lesson on being mindful about time, which she regards as important as our personal life's hard climb. She said to know that time, when gone, will not flow back. So know the importance of each second, or we may face regret. As we are mindful of time, it is important not to just take time to learn, but also to do. Putting Dharma into action is the sincerest form of offering to Master, also the most true. Because once we put Dharma into action, we have not learned merely intellectually, but we have merged the learnings with our nature undeniably. Master does not want us to parrot that which she has taught without understanding them with our soul. She wants us to embrace Dharma in our lives and to master it, our spiritual goal. And then Dr. Kenneth was in Glasgow for COP26. Dr. Kenneth was Tzu Chi's representative to the UN Climate Change Conference in Glasgow, where the who's who of climate change gathered to make their concerns known. It was a lot of dialogue and it was a lot of demonstrations too, to force the world's governments to concretize actions for a future of our planet for me and you. A lot of words were exchanged and a lot of good conversations flowed freely. But what real actions are done by those who are so concerned really? When Dr. Kenneth spoke, among others, he expressed that the Tzu Chi philosophy that all sentient lives matter, and we put into action our belief by mindfully knowing what we put on our platter. The simple act of a plant-based diet multiplied by so many meals by our many disciples has the power to revert climate change as it is so easily duplicatable. All of us scholarly know the right things that we must necessarily do. The solutions are simple, certainly not rocket science, certainly not new. As Tzu Chi gets noticed more and more through important visibility on the world stage, it is with sincere hope that our message gets across to more people before it is too late. That's all from me. I'll pass over to Sister Su Ching. Su Ching, thank you so much.
Sister Lily and Sister Su Ching for the wonderful start. Okay, good morning, brothers and sisters. We are most humbled to have first today, Sister Tiffany. Actually, Master De Huang would love to make this intro, but Master De Huang happens to have another session. Okay, Sister Tiffany is a project specialist at Buddhist Tzu Chi Charity Foundation, CEO of its Global Partnerships Affairs Department. She was a volunteer for over 20 years in New Zealand, becoming a commissioner in 2014 and returned to Hualien in 2020. Sister Tiffany has experience in running community-led projects and youth programs in the Asia-Pacific region, and during COVID relief, Sister worked on the interfaith partnerships in India and PPE distributions with MDM. Okay, we are most humble and look forward to Sister Tiffany sharing today. Good morning, and over to you, Sister Tiffany.
Thank you very much for the introductions. My name is Tiffany. Let me just share my screen with everyone. So today I'd like to share a bit about the things that I saw in COP and what I learned. Hopefully everybody can hear me clearly. Just like Sister said that I'm from New Zealand, so I just want to share an image of New Zealand with everyone. So usually when people talk about New Zealand, this is what they see. They see the beautiful greenery and then the wonderful seas and the mountains as well. So New Zealand is pretty, I guess, quite a nice and clean place. And we pride ourselves for being clean and green. And we don't really know a lot about, say, for example, all the things that are happening around the world. So today, I'd like to share a bit about my experiences and how going to COP has changed the way I think about climate change and what we need to do in order to win the race against climate change. So what's happening in our world? So from here, we can see that the Ipcc report, which is a report made by a lot of scientists every edition. So we're at the 6th edition at the moment, and it states that human activity actually has caused the global temperature to rise 1.1 degrees, nearly 1.2 now, and it's actually brought about a lot of extreme weather events, such as if you've heard the US tornado that's going on at the moment, or the typhoon in the Philippines, droughts, bushfires in Australia, flooding in India, and more. So we can see that the climate has changed, and the weather that comes along with it has changed greatly as well. And it's estimated that we will reach 1.5 degrees by 2040, and by 2050, more than 140 million people will be displaced due to the effects of climate change. So like 1.5 degrees does not seem a lot to a lot of people, but actually if we go up just by that amount, more than 2 billion people will be affected by climate events. So that is a quarter of the population, the global population, will actually be affected by climate. And in moving forward, we can see that even if we do a lot to try and reduce our carbon emissions by 2100, we will see that the average sea level will rise between 30 to 60 centimeters. So that is a lot of low-lying villages. I think in Malaysia as well, a lot of the villages that are close to the coast or the waterways, they will definitely be flooded. So that is a big toll on our population and our people as well. And we can see that in that situation, 150,000 people will lose their lives to climate related issues. So that is, for example, flooding, that is, for example, a lot of bushfires and the tornado that's happening as well. So when we take a look at this, we can see this is talking about the rise in sea levels. You can see that there is an overall rise all across the world, and definitely in areas where is low lying, or for example, if we take a look at the Pacific Islands, they will completely be under the water. So that is a very, I guess, devastating thing to think about, that in a few years' time, if we don't do anything about it, our world will slowly disappear. So I hope that everybody can take a clear look at the map now. So this is usually what we see when we talk about the world map, right? So we see the countries, and afterwards, I hope that everybody can put this image in mind, because in the next few photos, we'll see a very different version of our world map. So here we can see the population. So if our world, the size of the map has changed to fit our population. So we can see that Asia is definitely very big because we have a large population. And then we can see Africa, and where I'm from, New Zealand, you can see that it's very small because we have a very small population. So this is a map by population. Next, I'd like to move on to another map, and this is a map by consumption. So how much energy and how much resources we consume. So we can see that there has been a shift. For example, if we look at America, the US, you can see that it has definitely grown in size. So that's the blue squares, the blue shape that you can see on the side. And then if you move over to Europe as well, that has also grown quite large. And in some areas of Asia as well, but not all, we can see still some of the countries are very small, whilst some of the maybe more developed countries are very big. And then we come to Africa, and you can see that Africa has definitely become very small here. That is the yellow area that you can see. So we can see that Africa obviously consumes a lot less resources. And then we come to emissions. So the emissions and the consumption is actually quite similar. So we can see that the European countries are quite large, and the US regions are also very large, and the African regions are quite small, along with the South American countries as well. They stay pretty similar to before. Over in Asia, we can see that there are a few countries that are quite large. So, for example, Taiwan has become quite large. And I think relatively wise, all the other countries are pretty similar to before. So when we take a look at that map, we can understand that the emissions and the effects of climate change differs greatly. So from the last map, we can see that although Africa was quite small, so if we go back to this one, Africa is quite small, but in this version, you see that Africa is disproportionately affected. So in total, Africa actually contributes roughly 5% of global emissions. And when we take a look at this map, we can see that they will be, and in the future will be severely affected by the effects of climate change. And that is also the case with Asia as well, because there's a lot of coastlines around Asia, along with a lot of rainforests that's being cut down at the moment. So we can see that there will be a big change in Africa and Asia because of climate change. And then we move over to seeing, talking about food. So this is one of the issues that actually came up with this year at COP. And I think most of us know that at the sharing before, Sister Sharon was saying that even in Australia, we've been trying to provide food and a lot of necessities for people that have been affected by COVID. And that definitely has played a part in the global hunger issue. But at the moment, globally, there is 811 million people facing hunger, and an average of 1 in 9 people is food insecure. So that means every 9 person, 1 person will be hungry, will be going hungry. And that actually takes a big toll on our population, and definitely a vulnerable population, for example, our children. So 14 million children suffer from severe acute malnutrition. So if you take a look at the picture above, this is how they measure weight and malnutrition in a lot of developing countries. So it is just a band that goes around the arm, and the circumference of the arm will determine whether the child is either has enough food or doesn't have enough food. And it depends on the age. So you can see that it is at the moment yellow. That means they are suffering from malnutrition. And when it moves to red, which is further down, means they're severely affected. And for 3 billion people, a healthy diet is beyond their financial reach. So for many of us, it might be very hard to imagine we have food, we have plenty of food, and sometimes even a bit more than enough food. So, and this year actually, Madagascar became one of the first countries to declare that they have a famine issue due to climate change. So many regions in Madagascar have not had rain in over 4 years. So many millions of people are actually experiencing drought-induced famine. So we can see here what I was talking about. Actually, children are severely lacking in resources and nutrition. So you can see that the tag is actually red, which means that they're severely affected. And it's quite hard for myself, actually, being quite, I guess, fortunate and blessed to be living or had lived in New Zealand and now in Taiwan, that there's always plenty of food and we are quite secure in that sense. But it's very hard to imagine that there are people living in the 21st century now that have to eat bugs and actually spend a whole day or even 2 to 3 days just trying to collect enough bugs to feed their family or even just to feed themselves. So we can see on the right-hand side that the children actually, along with a lot of their family, will go and collect bugs, and these are locusts that they're eating. And actually, I've heard from our volunteers in Zimbabwe that it's actually very hard to collect these bugs, to be able to collect enough bugs to be full. Mostly when they eat these bugs, it's just to have that little bit more nutrient and protein for them to go out and try and find work in hard labor, or to be able to survive for the day or the coming week. So for many of us, I think it's quite hard to imagine that this is the daily lives of other people and of even some of our brothers and sisters in Africa. And on the other hand, we can see that obesity is a very big problem as well. So the worldwide obesity has tripled to this day. And you can see that if you look at the map, the countries that are most obese or have higher indications of obesity are the global north countries. So global north countries are the developed or more wealthy countries. While if you take a look at Africa or in some parts of Asia as well, actually obesity is not such a big problem. And one of the stats that I found quite sad is that there is 39 million children under the age of 5 that are overweight or obese in 2020. So if you look at the number of children that were severely acute malnutrition, so suffering from that, we can see that it was 14 million. So actually there are more people who have more children that are overweight and have an abundance of food, whilst if we take that food to feed the children that are suffering from malnutrition, we can see that we can actually feed them. Of course, it doesn't work that way because of, for example, where they live and everything like that. But we can see that there is definitely an inequality to our food resource, and how some countries are very food secure while others are very food insecure. So when we take a look at this chart, we can see that climate change has taken a toll on our earth and on our people as well. So here it says that we need to be more ambitious with our net zero emissions, where I'll talk about slightly later, and it needs to be reflected in a lot of policies. And it also says that by 2025, that we will be 1.5 degrees warmer, and that's a 40% chance. So before, where I shared that they said it was 2040, that was a very, I guess, a very on the best case scenario. So this is talking about generally, if we don't do anything or don't make any changes, that we will be 1.5 degrees warmer by 2025. And here it says that sea level rise will be accelerated, which is something that we've also talked about before as well. And that COVID-19 has exacerbated health hazards. So that is also linked to, for example, poor air quality, wildfires, heat waves. So actually, the pandemic is also linked with climate change. And I think, in a sense, for example, when we talk about food insecurity, the pandemic has played a big part in increasing the people that will be food insecure. And the thing is, when people become food insecure, or the people that are food insecure, it's very hard for them to be food secure again, or to move away from the poverty line. And we can also see that there will be extreme heat, droughts, and heavy rain and floods because of climate change. So I'm sure in a lot of people's hometowns, you've been experiencing this kind of issues. So for example, flooding is a big thing, and also a lot of wildfires as well. And then greenhouse gases will continue to rise to record highs. So from the pandemic, one of the, I guess, good, or if we can say good, things that came out of it was that there was a decrease in CO2 emissions and greenhouse gas emissions. But as I guess most people are getting used to the pandemic, or people returning back to everyday lives, we can see that it is bouncing back rapidly. And it is actually increasing as well, because more people are getting used to, say, for example, fast deliveries or food deliveries. In Taiwan, we can see that there is an increase of, say, Uber Eats or Food Panda or other delivery vehicles as well. I'm not sure about other countries, but that's definitely something that we see a big increase in as well. And even the changes that we have to climate change now, it's going to affect our climate systems and the weather for hundreds and thousands of years to come. So it's definitely something that a little bit goes a long way. So when we take a look at, we say, 0.5 degrees, 0.1 degrees, actually that slight change can have butterfly effects through our climate and for our people as well. So when we take a look at all this climate, I remember before setting out to COP, I was doing a bit of research on the climate and researching on what should we do, or what is it that we need to do at COP. And it was very overwhelming because there's just so many of these global issues. How can we say that we can make a difference, or what can we do to actually make a difference? And before we left, actually, Dharma Master Zeng Yin shared with us that you must share with everyone the spirit of the great enlightened one of the universe. And at that time, I didn't really quite understand. All I had was this image in my mind of the great enlightened one just caressing the globe. And from what I understood was that, we need to look after our planet. But when I actually went to COP and came back, I think I felt a lot more, which I'll share with everyone later. So when we talk about COP, we need to understand what COP is first. Last week, I think Brother Ken shared a lot about what COP is with everyone. And so I'd like to share just a bit more. COP stands for the Conferences of Party, and it's an annual meeting to discuss climate-related, anything climate-related, really. Actually, one of the biggest thing was actually COP started quite a lot earlier, but the biggest thing that we talk about these days is the Paris Agreement, which was in 2015 at COP21, where 196 countries signed on to this agreement to say that they will make indices, which is their nationally determined indices to measure how they will change and progress to combating climate change. So they, for example, they will write things like, "Oh, we want to be net carbon by, say, 2040 or 2050 or 2080," and then they go and measure these benchmarks and see how they progress. And of course, COP is about coming together to discuss these indices and also to say, is there more that we can do, or how can we help countries which are struggling because financially or because they don't have the resources to reach their indices. So a COP will be attended by member states, observers, and also NGOs like Tzu Chi. And this year actually is COP26, and it was held in Glasgow. And a total of nearly 40,000 people attended COP. And it is the biggest COP so far. So we can see that climate change has become a bigger global issue, and definitely something that a lot of people is talking about at this time. So just talking about COP, maybe a lot of people don't have never been to COP or these kind of conferences. So I'd like to share a little video of how COP went. And this is a video that we actually made during COP. So let me play it and hope everybody can hear.
Hello, hi everybody. Hi, where are you? Oh, hi. My name is Tiffany and I'm from Buddhist Tzu Chi Foundation. We're about to head off to COP. So where is COP, you say? It's in Glasgow. But what is COP, you say? I really don't know. I'll let my other half, AT at COP. Who's A, you say? Ashley, where are you?
Hello， 大家好，我就是 ATCOP 的 Ashley。COP26 就是联合国气候变迁峰会，今年将会在苏格兰的格拉斯哥进行。欢迎大家透过影片和我们一起到 COP 去吧。Over to you, Tiffany.
Thank you, Ashley. Well, I'm heading off today. And guess what? I have a company. Bye.
今 今天呢来这里做 COVID test， 然后它是 drive through， 所以等一下就是在车上做就好了。Hello， 大家好，我们是 ATA Cup，
We're finally here together at Glasgow.
而且我们今天做的快筛也拿了我们的 badge。
Ta-da! So tomorrow will be the first day of COP26, and we'll take everybody to take a look.
所以明天会让大家知道更多关于 COP26的事情。
All right, see you there. Bye.
我们现在在 COP， 我们要拿我们的 goodie bag。
Okay, so we've received our goodie pack. Yay! You can see here we have all the things. For the travel pass, it allows us to travel in Scotland for 14 days, encouraging everybody to take public transport and walk if you can. And then we have our water bottle. So once you finish the water, we can just refill it.
Hygiene 里面呢很特别，他送了我们一整大包的 wipes， 所以然后再就是这个净手液，所以这个 COP 的 COVID-19 的防范其实做得非常好。那还有跟我很喜欢的就是信封里面的口罩，哒啦，是 COP 专门制作的布口罩，然后在上面有个地球队，戴了其实是真的蛮好看的。所以 COP 可以看到它真的是鼓励大家。虽然大家聚在这里，可是还是要做 COVID 的防疫。然后我们今天就介绍到这里啦，
拜拜。
好，这是我们的 cup 呢，还准备了 reusable cup， 所以他们去买咖啡，你看那个杯子是等一下可以直接拿去还的，非常的环保，是不是 Jimmy？
对，超棒。
那其实 COP 是 Conferences of Party， 那其实它是有差不多200多个国家每一年会举办的一个高峰会，那谈的就是气候变迁跟各国如何去应对气候变迁的一些方案跟行动。那今年呢就是26届了，所以就是 COP26。
今年大会的主席也就是 Sharma 有提到说，虽然因为疫情，可是气候变迁其实在这一年是没有停止的。那在全球的各地都可以看到气候变迁的影响，像在马达加斯加这个国家就发生了全球首起气候变迁导致的饥荒。而每个国家的人民，其实我们都在见证气候变迁，不管是你在的地方有水灾、有火灾等等，其实很多都是跟气候变迁有关的。那他也说到，我们的地球正在走向最糟糕的情况，唯有我们齐力合作才能解决这个问题。对，所以听他讲完是真的是觉得蛮有希望能够一起去解决的，只是我们真的要加快我们的行动。
所以呢，就是希望在接几天来，就是也可以看得到每一个国家的一些就是发表的一些方案，还有就是我们很多 NGO 也会发表一些对气候变迁的一些 actions。那所以就是请大家也要关注我们，然后一起跟我们看一看，就是这次 COP26，那就这样子喽，拜拜。
Okay, so hopefully everybody has now come to COP with me. And so actually at COP, there was quite a lot of different discussions and a lot of different actions that we can see. And here it says, as they say, a picture speaks 1,000 words. So what are the pictures saying to us? So I hope that everybody can join me. You can write on the chat, or if you would like to, I'm sure on either in YouTube or on the chat group, you can write what you think these pictures are saying to us. So this is one of the pictures that we saw when we're going into COP. And the picture shows all the household appliances, all the electrical appliances these people have. And they're lying there with their appliances. And the title is are these people happy or not? So when I look at this picture, it's many of us, I'm guilty of it myself, of having a lot of electrical appliances, either for work or for pleasure. There's a lot of electrical appliances. But when we take a look, do we really need these electrical appliances? And do these things really bring happiness? You can see the family on the left-hand side. They're so happy with all the gadgets that they have, but maybe we can find a different source of happiness that can that will not harm the earth. So this is one of the few photos there that that really spark thought. And actually a lot of discussions happened around these photos. You see people standing there discussing and looking at these photos all the time. And here it is, our past, our present, and our future. So these are messages from the children, the world's children. So there were 10,000 letters from 100 countries, and they have one message. They are talking to, these messages are made out to their parents, they're made out to the world leaders, they're made out to people in the past. And because we're living in the present now, what do we want and what do we expect for the future is an important question we need to ask ourselves. So it says here that climate education is our right. So everybody should have the opportunity to know, to understand about climate and how these issues are affecting our daily lives. And here we can see two photos from Taiwan students. So it talks about, learning climate crisis is important to everyone. So let us work together right now. And then there's also a message to the president. We must take more action right now. So we can see that the youth of our world want action. And definitely for us as well, in Tzu Chi, we talk about in the sharing before, from aspirations to action. What kind of action do we want to see happen? And how do we make the aspirations and stay on the path? I remember, I think it was Sister Susan was saying that, sometimes it's very hard and sometimes you get people who look at you differently because you are doing something that is out of the norm. But climate change teaches us that now is the time, and it might be out of the norm, but if we don't do these things, in the future, we might not have a choice to do something like this. And we see that there is a lot of exhibitions as well. So here is a green zone. It's open to the public where there is new innovations, ideas about climate change. So a lot of these technologies have never been seen before. And what they want to do is inspire young people and inspire other inventors and even innovators to go out there and make things that are good for the climate and be able to also be used in our daily lives. So here we can see that technology can make a difference. For example, we see green cars because sometimes when we talk about climate change, we think it's very difficult to do things in our daily lives because, it's not convenient. For example, instead of taking the car, walking. But if you live very far away, it might not be an option to walk. So is there other ways that we can work on reducing our carbon footprints in our daily lives without compromising too much of what we're doing? So we can see here there's green cars. We talk about online virtual games to help learn about climate, and also AI interactive displays as well. So what did we do at COP and what can we do at COP? So at COP this year, we had a lot of press conferences. We had 8 press conferences. We had a side event. We were also invited to speak at other events as well. And also at the pavilion where there was lots of booths, different countries and different organizations and exhibitions that you saw before. And of course, we also networked with other partners and did advocate for the following things, which is we advocated for plant-based diets. So we want to let people know that plant-based diet is good for the environment, but not only that, it is also about compassion and protecting all sentient beings. We talked about land management, how in Mozambique that we are using banana leaves and banana fertilizers to make the soil be able to be planted on, and we are planting vegetables on these was before arid soils. And we also had faith and reflections. So I'll talk about later as well how faith plays a big part in climate change and also the situation now. And also how can we approach carbon neutrality and what can we do in our daily lives to do that as well. We talked about climate, we talked about health, and we also talked about youth as well, how youth is an important aspect of climate conversations. And we talked about partnerships, collaboration, and food insecurity. And we worked with a lot of local and international partners, so industries, faith organizations, NGOs, and more. So these are some of the organizations that we worked with when we talked about plant-based diets. So we have here Vegan Outreach, we have ProVeg, and we have Humane Society. And these are all our partners that are doing the same things that we are doing and trying to promote plant-based diets. And actually, this year at COP, over 50% of the meals are actually all plant-based, and they are saying that hopefully for future COPs that we are going to increase this percentage. And this year, actually, I didn't put a photo, but you can search online, is that of all the foods that we eat at COP, when we go and buy these foods, you can see on the menu that there is carbon emission. So it lets you know how much carbon was emitted to create the food that you're eating. So a lot of people will look at the carbon and say, oh, maybe I'll go for low carbon emission foods. And generally, a lot of these foods are actually plant-based. So it was very interesting to see. And here we have a lot of sharing. So this is one of the events that our Dr. Lee Min Nan was able to speak at. So he spoke at a WHO event about green hospitals and dietary transformations. So not all across Tzu Chi, so in charity foundation, in our hospitals, everybody is working towards building a better climate and sustainable structure and practices. So when Dr. Lin shared about how our hospital is plant-based, it was very surprising to a lot of people. And some of the green hospital and the practices that we do in our hospitals, actually, it was a good opportunity for us to share with other people. And some of the hospitals were very excited and wanted to implement it in their own hospitals as well. So that was very good. And one of the most important thing is that many of us delegates, actually, we're all from different areas and different countries. So we had UK, we had Germany, US, and Taiwan. So we can see that a lot of people actually came together. We all came from different places, but there's no barrier between us because we're all walking on this Bodhisattva path, and we're all following Master's teachings. So here we can see that we had a lot of meetings beforehand, and because of the time changes, it could be 3 p.m., it could be 11 p.m., it could be in the morning at 4 p.m. So
everybody worked hard to come together to be able to go. And one of the things that Master teaches us is that we must do what we say and say what we do. So we have our local volunteers in the UK who spoke at our press conferences, sharing stories of local work and also work of some of the volunteers that could not be there. So our volunteers from Mozambique, from Zimbabwe, the work that they are doing in their local areas. So we must share with other people what we are doing, and hopefully we can inspire them. And at the same time, what we say we must do as well. And here we can see that our volunteers, our delegates, going table to table, store to store, just talking to people and sharing the climate actions that Tzu Chi has taken. And we actually had a booth as well on one of the days. And here is our volunteers manning the booth. And we shared with them dye technology. And you can see here the pen that is made of plastic. And lots of people actually was so astounded because they didn't know what plastic could be used for. And here we had so many things, from clothing, from bricks, from pens. These are all made out of recycled plastics. So instead of throwing bottles away, maybe it's something that we can do. And often, one thing that really touched me was how our delegates and our volunteers could share at any time, any place. They could share Tzu Chi with anyone, not only in the venue itself, but actually, this is one of the a very cool story to share with everyone. Was actually on the bus on the way home, our volunteers actually one of the passengers had a bit of an argument with the bus driver, and the bus driver thought that he could not continue to drive anymore, and so the bus was stranded. And everybody was looking quite miserable because it was quite late at night and people wanted to go home. And our volunteers thought, oh, okay, how do we make this atmosphere better? And they thought, oh, maybe I can share with them. So our volunteers got up and started sharing dye technology with them, and also handed out a lot of gifts, and shared with them why it's so important that we follow a plant-based diet, and what's so important about recycling and climate change. And actually, after sharing and after interacting with everyone looked so much happier. And actually, the bus driver also said that, he's had a tough day, and this actually had made his day. So I think definitely I look up to our volunteers and what they are able to do. They're different. They walk on this path and they share what Tzu Chi has done with anyone and everyone. And here is our volunteers on the day, and we can see that there is a lot of different volunteers all coming at different times, and together we hope that we are able to share what Tzu Chi is doing around the world, and also to be able to share Master's wisdom with everyone as well. So here is a bit about the vlog as well, because when we went to COP, I'm sure a lot of people haven't heard about COP, or heard about COP but doesn't quite understand what COP is. So we wanted to make a difference and try to relate COP with everyone. So bring a different perspective. So a total of 7 episodes and 1 live stream. So we can see here there's a lot of different episodes, and afterwards we also had a live stream so we can answer some of the questions that people had as well. It's just the beginning, and so we had over nearly close to 2,000 views and noticed by over 7,000 people, and we were able to interact with over 200 people. And so I guess this is a bit of a ad as well. So it's called Tzu Chi AT at COP, and hope that everybody who's interested in COP and learning a bit more can go and take a look. Yeah. So definitely it's quite interesting. And
I hope and we hope that through these sharings we are able to reach more people and let people understand that the time to act is now. So we also had a lot of messages from people, and this is from the live stream event. So throughout COP, there was a lot of pledges, a lot of NGOs and countries. They said that they will do something for COP. So here we can see that the Paris Agreement is 1.5, but even if we do actually reach all the pledges, like every single pledge that was made in every single COP, the temperature is still going to rise to 2 degrees, which means that 2 billion people will still be affected by climate-related issues. And then we can see if some of the pledges or majority of the pledges are met, the rise in temperature will be 2.4. And if the current policy, if we don't do anything now, right now, it will be 2.9. So we can see that if we don't do anything now, the situation is just going to get worse. So Master always tells us that we must have a collective understanding, and we must come to a mutual consensus and collaborative action. So we can see from COP that there is collective understanding where there have been meetings and there's been scientific evidence and studies that show that climate change is happening, and it's happening right now. And then we see that a lot of NGOs and countries are moving towards this mutual consensus. So we have that the press conferences that Tzu Chi was part of and Tzu Chi hosted to let people know what we should be doing and work with our partners to say, is this the same goal that we're heading towards? And if so, how can we do that? But what we don't see much of, or what we really need to work on, is the collaborative action. So what is it that we can do in our daily lives to make a difference? I'm sure a lot of you are all very environmentally friendly. So, but the thing is that we really need to reflect back on our daily lives. How much carbon emissions are we emitting? So have we actually taken a look? Because we don't want to fall into the trap of we think we are environmentally friendly, but we're actually not. So one of the things that I talk about a lot is we might buy a lot of environmentally friendly things, but are we using them? So for example, we see the latest bottle that came out that's environmentally friendly. We're like, yes, we must get that. But are we actually using it on a daily basis? Or when the next new thing comes out, we go and buy that again. So that's definitely something that we need to think about and we need to really reflect back on. So we see that faith has actually played a big part in climate change, this conference, and also COVID-19, because faith allows us to find peace in these challenging times. So definitely Master's teachings has helped a lot of people through COVID-19. When people are feeling scared, when they're food insecure, they don't know what they're doing, faith, and also faith plays a big part in community, in offering food, in offering these kind of supports. So we really want to thank actually our local volunteers, volunteers like yourselves who work on the local level, who are contributing, who are helping the vulnerable communities, because these are the actions that we are able to share with other people. And these are the actions that in these talks and these conversations we're part of, that they say, actually, Tzu Chi has done a lot. And actually, maybe Tzu Chi has a method that we can all follow. And together we can help all these sentient beings in our world as well. So Master tells us that faith, aspiration, and action. So we must have faith in what we're doing. Do we have faith in Master's teachings? Do we have faith in what Buddha teaches us to love all sentient beings? And if we do so, have we made that aspiration to follow this Bodhisattva path? are we walking on this path diligently? And if we are if there are people that are dissuading us from this path, are we firm? Are we standing firm on this path? So I think with climate change as well, we understand that this is things that we must do. And Master teaches us that we must follow a plant-based diet. We need to care for the environment. We need to care for all sentient beings. But are we able to tell people that? Are we able to share this with other people? I'm sure many of you are already doing that. But is there more that we can do? Or is there more actions that we can take? Or can we ask other people to join us in this path, in this action? So at COP, when we're all talking about collaboration, we're talking about consensus, but outside we can see that it is not so peaceful. And this COP has not been so peaceful due to COVID and due to these climate actions and climate strikes. We can see people who are saying that we need to do more. But at the same time, when a lot of the times when we talk to these people, they're not too sure what we can do. So I think at this stage, we really need to come together and actually act. And when we do act, we take individual actions. We need to talk to other people and promote this as well. So recently, Master has been talking about taking inventory of our lives. So when we take inventory of our lives, we need to reflect back on every action that we take in our lives, and also what our lives can be worth. So Master says that everybody has a place and everybody can do a lot. So if we don't do something for the environment now or for the climate now, maybe in the future we might not be able to do anything about it anymore. So I think when we take inventory of our lives, we need to take inventory also of our use of resources and how we can reduce. We start with refusing to use these things, reducing our waste, and also reusing anything that we can. And ultimately, we want to be able to find purity and return to that original and our traditional ways of living, where we don't use plastic all the time, where we don't overspend, overeat. And all of us can actually make a difference. And in a lot of these conversations, people say, oh, we need the government to do something, or we need NGOs, or we need corporates to stop making plastic. But actually, we can do a lot ourselves. So if we can light fireflies in the dark sky, they have a small light, but that can guide us. At the same time, we can also be that small light and guide more people, more fireflies, to brighten up the sky and also brighten up our world. And so reflecting back on what Master said when we left is that we must share the spirit of the enlightened one of the universe. It makes me think about one of the pictures that actually at COP is that there was a big globe there. And every time we went in, I thought about the globe that the enlightened one was cherishing and was caressing and was looking after. And it brings home the message that we are all protectors of this world. We're all walking on this Bodhisattva path. So we must strive to have the same compassion, to have the same love for all of Earth, all of the world, all of the universe, and all sentient beings. So thank you. This is my sharing, and I hope that everybody has enjoyed my sharing and knows more about COP and what's happening with our world at the moment.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'd like to thank Tiffany for the wonderful presentation that you've done. Even though I've heard some of this before, I must say that hearing it again and in a much more complete sense is very different. And hearing the last part where Tiffany combined the event and also what she had learned, and also the part about the universal enlightened one, that really touched me, because indeed we are the protectors. We are the guardians. We are supposed to guard and say and keep it safe, but we're not. And but I think realizing is one thing, right? Awareness is one thing, but what are we actually doing? And Tiffany mentioned that we don't want to fall into the trap of thinking that we're already on that path, when in fact we're not. When in fact we thought that we are, but we're not. And that's something that's the very logical loophole that we might fall into. You know, we might be thinking that, oh, we are already vegetarians, therefore I'm already doing my share. No, you're not. We are doing our share in still keeping the CO2 in the air. We are doing our share on that. And we're not doing enough to help with the other. So thank you, Sister Tiffany. Last week the connection with Dr. Kenneth Dr. Liao wasn't as good, because the internet there were some problems. It was stop and go, and so. But today I was able to hear a more complete picture, and I'm very grateful to Sister Su Ching and also Master De Huang to double check and triple check to make sure that Tiffany came on early to share with everybody. I'm sure if we continue this series, maybe we can continue all the way to the next COP. And so it will be able to keep everybody very, very updated, because the last thing we want is for this movement to lose its energy, right? I'm sure that's what Tiffany is trying to do, especially the cross religious boundaries. We don't want this to stop. We want the passion. We want this drive to continue, so that no matter where you are, you remember that particular will and that vow. Okay, so maybe that's something that Sister Su Ching can help us with. Yesterday we also have a talk here at the abode about vegetarianism, and the doctor that was here before, I think it was Dr. Tudor, gave us the sharing earlier before, was actually sharing with us. So I think that was something that we are very active, engaged in doing. But is it enough? And only time will tell. But let's not wait until when it's too late to know that it's not enough. I think we should always do more, and then maybe one day it's more than what we needed, but it's all the better. Rather than waiting for it to realize it's too late and we didn't do enough, and that would be horrible. So thanks once again. Thank you, Sister Tiffany, for your. Where are you? Are you at home?
Yeah, I'm at home.
You're at home. Okay. So, I remember Tiffany is very, very low key. Okay, very, very low key, and so finally I understand that AT at COP means you. The initials from both of you. Now I understand. I had no idea what the AT at. I thought doesn't it mean just two at? I don't quite understand. But now I get it. Okay, now I get it. So whose idea was it to have all these very lively, very youthful, energetic videos? Whose idea was it? And who actually put it all together? Who made it happen?
I think definitely we need to thank a lot of people in this aspect, actually. So because it was actually a discussion that came up with when we were talking to the public Gongchuan, so public
the relation.
Yeah,
the
public
PR
relations group.
the PR
Yeah,
group.
yeah, because we did a lot of stream events with them, and we're talking about how to make I guess COP relatable to everyone. And this is one of the ideas. Maybe we can do live streams and we can talk to people in a very lively and a very everyday normal, like a diary kind of situation. So that's why we came up with a vlog. And actually we did the easy part. We just went out and filmed everything that we could. But actually the hard part was actually cutting and editing and doing all that. And so we really need to thank a lot of people from the media team, and also from our for example, Sister Sarah, and also our Tzu Chi as well, for doing all that as well, and the public the relations team as well, because they actually helped us to be able to put it onto YouTube and to put it on the platforms as well. And of course also Winston Chu, because they helped out a lot with the Facebook side of things and answering questions when people had questions, or coming back to us with questions saying, hey, I think people want to listen to this. Can you guys record a bit more on that? So definitely as a team effort, we had the really easy part of just recording, while all the hard stuff, I think, was managed by our team back here in Taiwan. So a big thank you to all as well. And of course, thank you to the audience as well, because you guys joining us on this trip actually is something that we really wanted everybody to do. And when you were able to do that, and when you actually joined us on this trip, it made all the difference. And hopefully you can share that with other people as well, because climate change is something that we need to do now. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. And we look forward to have more of your these everyday videos. It doesn't have to be about COP. It could just be about your day at work. And then everybody would know how you had to endure, tolerate everything to make it happen. So maybe we wouldn't want to make videos like that. But anyway, the point is that you did, and I think the team did a great job to let people know more about COP. After all, it's something that we live and breathe. However, it's so far away that people don't think about it and still are not thinking about it. I'd like to say that that even though, okay, so when you mentioned, and there were others in the same audience, they were quietly saying that, oh, the video only touches about about 1K, and which it's not a lot, but to the great deal of this effort, and also to how we are just starting to do this. This is the first time we venture into doing something like a vlog, the vlog, and we've already generated this. Don't think of this as a small number. Imagine if that at the very first time that Master started, there were only 30. Now, if you tell anybody, I want to build a hospital, how many people do you have? About 50, about 100, about 200. That's not going to work. People are still going to doubt you. People are going to look down on you, and people are going to say that you don't know what you're talking about. And that's what happened. But Master continued on because that's the right thing to do. So don't let other people say to you or make you think that the number starts off small. It's just like the firefly, right? So if anyone think that this number is small, well, let's shoot for next year. How are we able to generate more views and generate more people and more interest? Let's hope it is with our effort to generate more views, not because now the country is in dire need and need everybody to pitch in. Let's hope that that's not how it comes to be. So thank you again, Tiffany. You've done great service for this planet, not this country, but for this planet. And we need more warriors like you to be on the front lines to tell people and bring us more information. Okay, so we're gonna be your little 小尖兵 and
thank you.
Spread what you just said and spread those videos so that people can know more about it. Okay, thank you, Tiffany. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to our next topic. Thanks to Sister Sharon, who's been doing the typing out what Sister Tiffany was saying, so everybody can see, and also for Sister Su Ching, who cannot hear, I think. this is a very important service. I want to follow on with what Sister Tiffany said with today's sharing, and I think it's something that continue from last week, what we talked about. Basically, last week we talked about very important, the direction, testing the leg strength, Master says, and there's a clear difference. But the most important thing is she wanted to see everyone. And I think it's very important that I went deeper into thinking about this. Why does Master wanted to see everyone? It's not just going into the masses. It's not just going into everybody. I think a lot of it is, a lot of the inspiration needs to come from people and personal touches. And I don't mean touches, with your hands. I mean going personal. You and I making the call, I standing next to you, that type of connection. So that's why imagine that if your eyes connected with Master, how you would feel. And I think that's what Master was talking about. I went back to think about what we said last week about what Master wanted to see everyone. And I went further to think about this after our talk last week. And I wanted to say that perhaps that is what Master was teaching us to do. But we focused on taking every step. So Master is telling you that she can't, because she had to pay extra attention to her every step. But we, on the other hand, don't have to pay that extra attention, because our legs, our body is still young. We're not at a time where our movements are hard. That means we're still able to do all the things that we're doing, but are we focused on the right thing? So last week we were talking about direction, right? Are we focused on the right things? Are we doing it because we're doing something? Or are we focused on that personal and people attention, that people attraction? So having Tiffany come on here to share with everybody is much, much more important and better than seeing the video. And seeing the video is better than just looking at the picture. So imagine the story that Tiffany shared about the people on the bus. It is because the people interaction that made events worse, and that also was the people interaction that made event better. So that's what we can do. And that's what going into the masses actually means. It's not just to do the thing, but rather it's to use your influence, your personal influence, because you being there, you occupied a space, you actually could do something about it. Okay, so we talked about the respect for the Dharma, and we talked about the most important thing is the Dharma cannot be spread on its own. And it's actually out of the respect for the Dharma itself, the Dharma has to be spread by everybody. So that was what we talked about last week. So this week, what we're going to talk about, I think it's a very, very, very good segue from what Tiffany mentioned. This is what Master said to the brothers and sisters from the US because of the tornado, the recent tornado, the flurry of tornado that came to some states in Arkansas, in Kentucky, and also Missouri, these states in the Midwest or the middle regions of the United States. And Master herself wanted to make sure that there was a video conferencing with them upon hearing that there are these tornadoes. And this move, what Master requested was beyond what we had imagined. And I don't know why we didn't think about that. I don't know why the people in charge or myself, where even though I'm not in charge of that event, but I didn't think about that. Maybe because it was at the end of the trip, we had all came back and it was the very next day. And Master said that she wanted to have video conference, and everybody was in a sort of dismay. Like, we didn't believe that Master wanted to do that. But I asked myself, why didn't I believe that that was going to be the case? Because to Master, there was no difference. There was no tiring. There was no, I'm energetic now, I can do this, or I'm tired. No, there was only, is there a need? So Master said to them, she looked back, taking inventories also, right? Looked back on herself. And she said 30, 40 years ago, when she first started doing charity, Master said that she made sure that our help was truly felt by the recipients. And this is something that Master said many, many times. Truly felt. What does that mean? That you don't want to make no impact. When you have done so much, go through so many troubles to make certain things happen, you definitely want to make sure that what you do has impact. And this is something that 30, 40 years ago, that Master was already using certain metrics that we use today, right? You want to have influence. You want to have impact. You want to make sure that things you do have the right returns. But of course, I mean, these are all key terminologies from management. But what are we talking about? What is Master saying here? I like to go in a little bit deeper every time when Master says something, because I think there are these meanings that we should get right away. And there are these extensions that I think that we can always benefit more from. So Master said that our help was truly felt by the recipient. That was the most important thing that Master said, right? That was very important. You don't want to just give $50 and then they would just take the 50 and then thinking that, well, what am I going to do with the 50? It's not going to help anything. So if that's the case, then you might as well not doing anything. You should do what they need. And even if that exceeds what you have, then think about the next part. Where is the money? Where is the money and the fund? That's what Master says. I don't know where it is, but I know that if we can inspire others, there will be a way. And I think I wanted to follow this with what Sister Tiffany said, right? That inspiration is very, very important. Master says, I always say, if you're not inspired yourself, then it's better off not doing it. You do it so others can truly feel it. If it's not enough, we should continue to try. So there are several key messages here that I want to clarify. This is what I understand, and maybe there are other ways to understand it, but this is how I understand it, and this is how I interpret it. And I wanted to share with everybody what I feel about this. First part, if you're not inspired yourself, then it's better off not doing it. So there are a couple parts. First of all, if the things that you're doing, you're not passionate about or you're not inspired about, then chances are good that the things that you're doing isn't going to inspire other people. You are inspirational because you have already inspired yourself. So if you're not inspired yourself, then it's better off not doing it. So what does this mean? It doesn't mean that you should stop. Okay, if doing this and you're not inspired, or doing this you're just not passionate about, then don't do that. But do something else that you know you can be inspired and inspire other people. That's what this is talking about. Okay, it's not telling you to say, oh, if you're not inspired, then don't do it. No, it's telling you that you should take measurements, right? You should measure yourself. If what you are trying to do right now, for example, out of the tornado victims, or the survivors, or the impacted, right? The impacted residents from the tornado. There was a discussion about how much money we should give, and the initial assessment was $1,000, which is quite a bit, and it according to the first line. Our volunteers, they mentioned that because Christmas is coming up and New Year's is coming up, we definitely want them to have a good year. And 1,000 is a lot more than what we used to give before. So imagine that if we start off by giving 500, perhaps it's not as much, and we're not even inspired. If we think about getting $500 US, yes, it's helpful, but maybe we're not as inspired, we're not as passionate. And so maybe it's better off not doing that particular way, but rather doing something else that could be inspirational. Okay, so let's continue. So you do this so others can truly feel it. And if it's not enough, we should continue to try. So this is something very different from the first part, right? The first part is telling you, if you're not inspired, don't do it. The second part is saying that if it is enough, then continue to try. So this matches what I just mentioned, that it's not telling you, don't do this. It's telling you, think of something else you can try to improve so that it will be able to be truly felt. So let's continue on, right? Contemplation. That's what we've been talking about. What does that mean? So if you're not inspired yourself, then it's better off not doing it, right? You do it so others can truly feel it. So what does that mean? What does that mean? I think thinking about the disaster. Sorry, my always in the mornings that my allergy problem gets more serious and it just can't stop. I wish I can run all day like my nose. That would mean that I'm healthy and fit, but I can't run all day like my nose. My nose runs all day. Anyway, contemplation, right? So if you're not inspired yourself, then it's better off not doing it. And I was thinking about this disaster and about so many things. If there was no one to inspire us, would we have done this? Let's look at who inspired us. If there was no master, would we have cared about COP26? If there is, right, I think it's just that. If there is no COVID-19, will we have cared about so many people who would have been in dire situations as well? If there is no climate change, would we have cared about the planet, the situation of the planet, the conditions of the planet? A lot of times, we don't care. Or let me put it more correctly, is we care about many other things. And these are the things that not enough people care about. And precisely that's where leaders come out. The leaders come out to tell you that you should care about these things because what you care about isn't as important than these things. And there is a complete reevaluation of what is important. So this is something that we are changing on the very minute cellular level that we're not aware. And I think that's what Bodhisattva path is about. It's a very small change in the way that we evaluate something. For example, now we begin to see that something is more important than others, where we used to not think that way, right? We used to think that by being a vegetarian is enough. Now we know that it's not. We used to think that it's okay to not be a vegetarian. Now we know that's not the case. We're inspired, whereas before we're not as inspired, right? So that can be changed. So if you're not inspired yourself, you could also inspire yourself. And that's what this disaster showed me, that not enough people care about this tornado until Master showed everybody that if you're not going to do it, or she didn't even care about whether you're going to do it or not. She just tell everybody, I am going to do this. Now, then everybody will follow. Then you will find your own inspiration. And I think that's what we need to do. A lot of times you need to try to talk to people to inspire them. A lot of times what Tzu Chi does is, I'm just going to go charge forward and you're going to see what we're doing and you're going to follow along. That's what happened. Massive charge forward and said that I'm going to have meetings with US. And the US team began to form up. And whereas before there were some efforts, but the effort wasn't as great. Now the effort is surely much greater than what it has been before. So whose responsibility is it to inspire others, right? Whose responsibility is it to to show people that, hey, there's a tornado, there's a problem here in the US. Everybody look here. Or hey, we have a COP26 here at Glasgow. Come and look here. Whose responsibility is it? Right? Whose responsibility is it to make all these videos so that people can now be aware of it? Isn't it your responsibility? Not Tiffany's, not the PR team, not the Tzu Chi team, right? We live in this world. Why is it their responsibility? What about our own responsibility? So this is a changing of awareness of who we are from the fundamental, from the root, to see that this is what we need to do. And that's what Master is slowly changing us too. Continue. Master says, there are disasters in the world, but there's also love in this world. We should treat this wave of disasters as opportunities of cultivation of bodhisattvas. Okay, so now Master is once again pointing the direction to us that, yes, it's true, we need to do what is right. We need to do what is necessary. We're going to go there and we're going to help people. That's what we're going to do. But this is also a great opportunity to help us, to motivate, to inspire more people to come out and help. This is the time to step out of your comfort zone, to go into the places and people where you haven't gone into. That's what we need to do. This is a great opportunity. And so she pointed us to that direction. That's the goal that we can try. Okay. With this opportunity, we gather everyone's strengths and efforts. Okay. The strengths come from encouragement of each other. So looking at today's sharing from Tiffany, I really felt that they have a team and they encourage each other. And Master was the biggest member of that team, continuing to lead them on, guide them, encourage them, so that the strength will come out. So thinking about this ourselves, when many things that we're doing, we sometimes have doubts. Sometimes we have doubts of other people. But Master is just telling us that the greatest strength comes from encouragements from each other. Because other than the actual strength and efforts, we also share the same goal. Therefore, we have this great power. And I want to end with this. In upholding one's vows and following the path is great. Okay, so 自奉道，其道甚大. I wanted to end with this. What does that mean? The path is great, right? Let me see. Okay, so there are several different contemplations. Hang on. Okay, let's go through them one at a time. Sorry. So will we have inspired others about this disaster? Will we have cared as much about this disaster? If Master didn't do this, if Master didn't come out and say about this, will we have focused on this? Yeah, it's a news on Diet TV. Yeah, it looked horrible, and we probably shed some tears about it. But will we have cared as much? And even if we care as much, will we have enough energy and strength to inspire others? So this goes into the same evaluation, right? Do you care? Are you a vegetarian? Now that you are, did you fall into the logical fallacy that it's enough? Or are you going to do something more to inspire others? That's what Master has been trying to show us, right? She did it by example to show you that I care, so many people will also care. And then I charge forward, so more people will then charge forward. Okay, so ask yourself these questions. The things that Master cares about, do I care? And why don't I care? And if I do care, am I inspiring other people to care? That's what a great leader and teacher does for you. We must think about the things and do the things, right? Before it just do as I say and say as I do, right? So what Master says, we do and we say. But I want to go a little bit further and ask myself, if Master didn't say so, would I have done it myself? And why not? And now that Master says so, what would I do? Did I do enough? Can I do more? So these are the contemplations, and also part of what Tiffany mentioned and Master said about taking inventories of ourselves. And I think that's very important. Master also says strengths come from encouragement of each other. And I think that's very true. I think we have to be on the same team, and we are on the same team, even though we have different, your legs and your arms are going to be, of different lengths from the other people, right? From the other person. We're all going to have different views, but it's precisely that view that made us who we are, so that we can have different ideas. So then that's why COP26 was a conference of parties that actually are all engaged in this. We have different needs, right? Some people, some countries, they're greater land mass. Others are islands on the ocean, and they're being swallowed up by the rising sea level. So we all have different needs, and we have different backgrounds, and that comes from the encouragement. So lastly, how is the path great? How is the path great? It's a very good question. The path is great. Well, it's great because all of a sudden, when Master was starting, there was 30 housewives. Now there are more than 126 countries. The footsteps have already gone to that. The path is growing greater and greater. But I would like to say that the path has always been great, but we just didn't see it. It's almost like our vision is like this. So we're walking with only 3 people, 4 people, 10 people. Now, the way that Master taught us was that we'll expand it a little bit. Now you see more people walking with you. They've always been there, but you just didn't see them, right? They've always been there. The path was already there. So the path was great. We just didn't know about this because we're focused on doing our thing. We're focused on caring about the things that we think we should care. And then Master says, look here, look here. And you go like, where? Oh, all of a sudden, your vision is different. Your vision is looking there now, but you also have to look at what you were looking before. So that means you're shifting, and that means your vision has broadened so that you can see more now. And then while you're seeing more, you realize that there are other people there too. And then they look at you too, and they, oh, you're on this path too? Yes, we are. Yes, I am. Oh, where are you coming from? You have that path. That's when the path becomes great. Because when you begin to see other things that you didn't care about, that you otherwise wouldn't see about, that you otherwise wouldn't see and care about, now you begin to see. Now the next step is, how do you inspire others so that they can see it also? Okay, so that's my sharing for today. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, to stay through. I think Tiffany's sharing is very inspirational. It made me think about let's not fall into the fallacy or not fall into the logical loop, that logical hole that says I'm already doing this, when in fact you're not. And I think that's one of the things that as cultivators and practitioners of the Buddhist Dharma and of the Jingsi lineage, I think we need to be very, very careful that even though we're doing all the things that we say, but do you really, what if one day there was no one telling you to do this? Would you still do this? And how far would you do? And how far would you inspire others? I think these are all very key questions to what we learn and what we take away. Okay, thank you everybody for another wonderful session. Thank you, Sister Tiffany. And thank you everybody that's online to listen and sharing this wonderful Dharma day with everybody. And thanks to Sharon, who continue to type up all these very wonderful sharings from Tiffany to everybody. So then if they come in late, they could also see it. That's wonderful. All right, so that's the sharing for today. And hopefully next week next week would be Christmas. And at the very same time, I think Master Huang and Sis Su Ching probably have something planned, but we'll be on once again off the journey, and then we will continue our sharings on Friday nights starting next Friday. So thank you everybody, and I'm gonna pass over to Sister Su Ching if you're online. Okay, great. I see you now. Thank you.
Wonderful session, Brother Joe. If Brother still have time, we do have some extra. We have allocated extra 20 minutes if Brother is available to continue the session. Brother Joe.
Yeah, sure.
嘿，好，我们还有 In fact, we have extra session today. Okay, I'll pass to Brother Joe, if Brother Joe is able to continue to lead us.
Okay, so what you mean is continue to talk? Is that?
Yeah, I'll be open to the floor.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
Definitely. The session continues, and if anybody wanted to, if anybody wanted to share how they feel and also about their feedback from Sister Tiffany, that would be wonderful too. I will be staying on here, even though I might have to run and get some tissues, but I'm free to till 8:30 to listen to everybody sharing. So if there's any feedback, you're welcome to share with everybody about how you feel today, about are we truly done enough? Have we truly done enough? And also what we can do more about, right? What can we do more about this world, about the situation that's happening? And also, if you want to talk about what Master has shared with us recently, it's mostly about the fireflies, and always telling us to not underestimate our own efforts. Why? I always ask myself, why did the Master say the things that Master say? Not just about the content, but also thinking about why. And the more I think about this, the more I think that people in this world today are beginning to think that they are powerless. And in fact, that's what a lot of people, even participating in COP or not participating in COP, but rather as an individual, they feel very powerless when they are up against the institution or the destiny or fate itself. And Master wanted to show everybody that even though that you are a small firefly, but when together, it could be a great effort. But it's hard to see. It's still very hard to see. So there's so many things today that it's very difficult to turn around. And looking at the amount of carbon, we're only talking about carbon. We're not even talking about the rubbish, the waste that we created, how it's an entire landmass that could be as big as the entire United States itself, but twice as big. And that's amazing. That's huge. We're not even talking about that. We're only talking about, because we're not seeing it, right? It's floating somewhere on the Atlantic Ocean and on the Pacific Ocean. It's a landmass that's as big as Alaska, twice as big as Alaska. That's floating somewhere, and we don't see it. We don't see it. Okay. And that's what we don't see. And we're focused on the other things that we don't see, which is air, gas, which is carbon, right? And Tiffany showed that thermometer, that if you are even if you do everything that we can, right, all the NDCs that we did, right, the contributions that we say we're going to do, that's still going to not help us completely, right? That still means 2 billion people are going to be affected. That's 2 billion. That's 2 with the B, the billion with the B. That's crazy. That means one quarter of the people will be affected. That means how many people we have on here today? We have 41 people here. That means 10 people will be affected. That's amazing, right? We don't see that, but we don't see it enough, and not enough people are inspired yet. And I think that's scary. And not enough people are scared yet. We don't want to scare people, but I think it's something that we need to talk about. So there are many things we can talk about. Anybody with anything you would like to share? That's something that this is a perfect opportunity that you could share with all of us. You could also share your feelings, your thoughts about this subject. So anybody.
Good morning, Brother Joe. I'm Suisan from Glen.
Hi.
Now we're feeling the climate change. Glen is flooded. And I think there's one report that said that due to climate change, I think by 2050, 2.5 or 2.6, plank, half a plank can be sunk, you know. It will sink by water, higher sea level. Today, I think every house of our volunteer houses, every of the house is actually now is flooded. And it had not happened before. So today topic resonate with, if you don't take action now, the situation can be even worse. I feel that, I think for the first time, the clan people as well as the volunteers, the feeling the impact of climate change. And it's still raining over here. And we are receiving a lot of photos from our volunteers, all their houses flooded. So we hope that the rain will stop soon.
Thank you, Sister Sui San. Thank you. Indeed, we hope that very soon that more people will get to understand this. But I think the key was it's how do you get people to see things that they're not seeing yet, and how do you get people to realize the things that they haven't seen? And I think that's hard, right? If you close your eyes and you don't see this, then how would you? How would you be able to? Horrible. Oh my God, horrible. Okay, so okay, thank you. So do we have another? Do we have another taker?
Yeah, please, brother. Yeah, please say.
Good morning, Brother Joe.
Brother
here. So just now when you asked as to whose responsibility is it to inspire others, this one made me think of Sister Su Ching, Sister Effie, and her team. Apart from encourage each other, they have started the veggie bento program in their community. And I salute to all these sisters that inspire many via this program. You know, they just started with a pure heart. They doesn't have a baggage at how things will work out. All they wanted was just to promote the vegetarianism, and they just go out. They started very small, and along the way, they have inspired many. You know, even to do donation out of the individual pocket. So this is the inspiration that this team is able to garner. I can end my small sharing.
I don't know, Sister Yvonne.
Yeah, definitely. Pure heart. I do want to say that is a true inspiration that I think is very, very important, that when you can have a group of people come together with the same direction, and then that's what Master talks about, right? That's the collective encouragement that is so powerful. Nothing can stop you, and this is the right thing to do, and you feed off of the effect, right? You know that this is the right thing. So I definitely wanted to echo what Sister Yvonne was saying, that the pure heart team, whether it's pushing forward for the translation or the vegetarian pushes, that's exactly what we need to do, right? And you before, maybe you're doing this on your own. Now you have a team called Pure Heart. Now, you know, that means that if you're in this team, that means you're pure heart, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't be in the team. So this is the inspiration that we're talking about. You're doing something where before you wouldn't do. That's one step. Now I want to ask you next thing is, what is your next step then? Now you have a pure heart now. Now you're doing all these things. What can you do next? And what are you going to do next? That's also very important. Always be on the thinking about what we can do next. Okay. This is something that I want to echo also. Thank you, Sister Yvonne. Thank you. All right. So we have anyone that would like to share further with any of us, with all of us?
Good morning, Brother Joe. This is Stephanie. Morning. Thank you so much for all the sharing. I would like to ask the question that Brother Joe asked just now. Yes, all of us are taking stock of what we have been doing, and all of us are asking ourselves, what can we do more moving forward? And Brother Joe, very rightly, just now you say, what can we do to all the people whom we meet that has not woken up yet to the message that we want to that we want to convey to them. Right. So yes, in the course of what we do, we come across many people. Some can accept what we say, some can practice, and some just they participate, but they don't want to go further than that. They don't want to go further than that, and we really have to try so many ways, you know, to make them come to maybe at least think for themselves. Yeah, think for the benefit for themselves. Not just benefit others yet, right? For example, taking vegetarianism. Basically, that's what I'm talking about, yeah, in pushing vegetarianism. So what can we do more, Brother Joe, about people like who are not resonating so closely?
Thank you, Sis Stephanie. It's a very good question, and I think there were a couple answers that I gave earlier in the sharing. So I would let me go through them again. One of the things that Master did was, okay, and this is all taken from Master, and this is all very theoretically based. This is not something that I did, but it's something that I observed Master did. So I share with you, just like what I said, what I said earlier about the very next day after we come back. Master knew that there was tornado disaster in the US, and she just said to everybody, I am going to have video conference with them. So by putting your focus there and putting your efforts there, other people might still have no clue about, oh, why are you having video conference? Oh, now you know, because of the tornado. Why US? Why these people? And then the people around you will normally, and because you care about this, they're going to start looking at this. They might not share your view, but they will begin to look at this because they have to, because they're right next to you. So Master did this. I'm not going to tell you more about this. I'm just going to go ahead and do this. And then there'll be people slowly that you are very in tune with, and then they will follow. So you don't talk much, you just do it, right? That goes with one of the ways that Master have been doing. I'll just do it and it will just happen. The other way is, well, much more difficult, which is, well, now you need to have more people knowing about this. And that's difficult because a lot of times people don't they don't agree because you have so many different views, and that's hard. Now you have to go through the things, and how do you make sure that they understand? And that's hard because people have different ideas and backgrounds. But what Master always did was making sure that and I need to say that it's not always successful either. But Master came out with many different ways to say the same thing. And maybe one of these ways will hit you. But one of the things that I see that never changed was that Master didn't stop. She didn't stop. She continued. Even though sometimes it will be full force, sometimes it will be less in frequency, but she didn't stop. Look at how many things that we started and stopped and then started again. Master didn't do that. She will continue. And I think that's one of the very important things that we need to learn. You continue on this path and you will know that the path is great. But sometimes you stop and go, the things takes a little turn, or you fall off from the, imagine if you're okay, imagine that you're riding a bicycle. Okay, imagine that you're riding a bicycle. Can you stop and remain still? You can't. If you put your feet on the pedal, the two wheels is not enough to balance itself to stand still. You need to keep on moving. And that's what Master is doing, right? I could move slower, but I am moving. Whereas once you stop, you fall off. Okay, so it's more important to continue to move forward, sometimes slower, but you don't stop. And yesterday I just had a meeting. Yesterday I had a meeting with a very important matter, and the people in the meeting, the masters, and also just talking about the future. And obviously we look back to a very, very same meeting about 15 years ago where I wasn't even there, right? I wasn't there yet. And in fact, this is the third time I'm in this meeting, but the same meeting had happened 15 years ago already. And so some of the more elder, more experienced, they begin to say that had we stuck to this idea, this plan, we would be much better right now already. But no, we are still at where we were 15 years ago. Still the same place. So that's the difference between Master and us. We stop, but Master didn't stop, even though it's very difficult. So think about this. She changed to many, many different things. So first, the answer was, you just go forward. Other people around you are going to see it. Second thing is, there are going to be people that don't agree with you. It's okay. Use different ways to tell them. And the most important thing, don't stop. Okay. That's what the conceptual idea that I get from the Master. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Joe. It's really very comforting to hear that, because that's really what we are moving towards. We did not stop, even though things are moving a little slower now. People are retreating a bit, but we're not going to stop. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And we're going to go ahead and we're just going to do it in different ways so that people can see it. And finally, one day they will understand it. Thank you so much, Brother Joe.
Don't stop. And you could slow down, because sometimes, you have a traffic light, you had to slow down. You can just go like, Brother Joe says, don't stop. So there's a red light. I'm not going to stop. No, that's not what I meant. There are times when you just can't speed up.
Right. Yeah.
And you have to see it. You can't just go head on and say, Brother Joe says, don't stop. There's a red light. No, don't. No. Okay. So the more the wisdom is in how do you differentiate and know that there is a how to switch gear. So same with driving, right? Some people, when they see a red light far ahead, they're gonna slow down, right? So then they don't have to step on the brake so much.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karen.
Cảm ơn to all our wonderful sharers today and all the questions and feedback from our volunteers. Cảm ơn Brother Joe and Sister Stephanie for this very heartfelt and wisdom sharing. Take good care, Brother Joe. We are aware that in Klang, because it rained since last night, and even at my place here, the rain still continue, but it's lesser now. I think they know that veggie promotions, you have to go out and do promotion, so it's a bit like stopping. Cảm ơn brothers and sisters for present. Maybe let us take a group picture today as ending this session. Okay, continue. Everyone can join the Friday evening session at 8 o'clock. We will have it continuously for the next 3 Fridays. There will be a lot of very wonderful sharings, and of course on this Saturday platform as well. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for your presence since this morning. Some joined either the chanting, or some joined Sister Effie with this wisdom at dawn listening. Hope that each of us could sustain the Dharma joy. Continuous, and take in another piece of Masters and Hualien left out like. Cảm ơn Brother Joe. We will be reminded, continue diligence, steadfast on this journey, unwavering. Okay, let us invite Brother Joe to lead us in making 3 vows to the Buddha and Sangren as we depart to apply all these wonderful teachings in our everyday life. Let us pay our respects to our teachers of life universal truth. Palms together. First bow. Second bow. And third bow. Okay, cảm ơn everyone. Take good care, stay steadfast. I think the clan people have to, maybe can start the cleaning. Cảm ơn大家. Take good care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Cảm ơn Brother Joe. Thanks so much.
Take care. Stay safe.
Stay safe.